Welcome, everyone, to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore. I hope everybody here listening tonight had a great last week. And sorry if you missed the show last week. There wasn't one. And I'm grateful for those of you who contacted me to find out why there was no show. And there was no show because we were out of town with the kids and helping our daughter move into her new house in Florida. And I thought I could have a show, but then the other kids came with us. So there was no work, no computer, none of that, couldn't do any of it. So here we are. We did have a nice time at the beach. And we're glad to be back this week with Jay Bachochin. I hope I said it right. I usually butcher his name, so it is what it is. And he's from Finding Jay, and he is a documentarian on Bigfoot. So we're going to hear more about Bigfoot, the Beast of Bray Road, and what's going on up there in lovely Wisconsin. I think it's almost winter up there, by the way. So welcome, Jay.
How you doing? Thanks.
So since the last time you were on,
yes,
what have you been doing?
What have I been doing? For the past 12 months, I've been working on my second documentary, Beyond the Kettle, Finding J2, which was the release was exactly a week ago from today. So you can find that on Vimeo currently. I'm still working with some other streaming distribution, and hopefully I should have some news on that as well. So, but currently it's on Vimeo. So yeah, for the past 12 months, besides being a family man, working for a living, I always say work for the man, right? Because nothing else pays the bills, has been kind of strapped to this exact computer for almost 12 months. And I finally got that done. So it's kind of a big, load off the back there. So it's, and of course, I'm still getting out into the woods as well.
And do you have any new evidence?
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to hear about that, because I know we're going to try to do this in some sort of order, so that, wait till we get a few more people in listening so that we can really tease them up a little bit here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, a lot of it is you're going to see in this next documentary. So I could tell you that I've caught some really interesting thermal, as well as some prints. But prints can kind of get boring here or there, where you're just like, well, is it pareidolia? Is it not? But I have found some really interesting, the hard evidence, I would say, with the prints, as well as some good thermal capture and audio out in the Kettle Moraine. So it's it's been a good couple of years since my first documentary, and I'm excited for this to be out, to get people's opinion on what they're seeing, because I never like to shove anything down anyone's throat of what it is. And, this is I call it my truth. This is what I see. This is what I believe. And that's what you'll see in this next documentary.
So how did you determine that you believe in Bigfoot?
Hui. You know what? I'm going to date myself, because back in the 70s, I grew up with the creature features, the black and white Frankenstein, Wolfman, Creature from the Black Lagoon, my favorite. Just all the kind of supernatural stuff, not just the paranormal, the ghosts or demons or anything like that. But, I thought it was more like the physical paranormal. Then seeing my first set of, I'd call them a UFO back in 1977. 78, so I was about 11 years old, so I'm really dating myself there.
You're a little bit younger than me.
Well, the way I look at it is I'm taking everyone with me. No matter how young you are, you're coming with me. It's so seeing something like that really got me interested really into the supernatural, the UFO. Been into ghosts. You start watching some of the ghost shows in the early 2000s, and started doing ghost investigating with a team, and my wife. We founded the team. But people would talk about Bigfoot, and I would always honestly laugh. I saw the Patterson Gimlin film back in the, I'd say, late 70s,
Hmm.
on Mysterious Monsters, some movie my dad took me to. And even then, I'm like, oh, why is everyone making such a big deal about this guy in a suit? That's really what
Yeah.
I thought of it. And it honestly, to that point, people are saying, well, Bigfoot does exist. And I'm like, well, so do unicorns and leprechauns. And, I was really
Believe me.
just, what's it?
Well, when I first met you, I told you you're going to have to make me believe because I think it's hokey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm really trying to open up more and get to know more because, you know, I had on Carter Bouchard a couple weeks ago, and he's in my area.
Hmm.
He's he's seen stuff where I live, you know, and I saw something I can't explain. I don't know what it is, but I was also driving at 60 miles an hour, so things get blurred a little bit.
Yep.
But you know, it's always why would people believe this? They've had to have seen something to believe it. I
You know
can't
what?
believe that everybody's hoaxing all of us.
And I agree with you. It's funny because whenever I'm driving with my wife, and I always say, "Hey, what if something ran across the road right here? Would you believe then?" She'd be like, "It'd probably be a guy in a suit or a misidentification." I go, "What would it take for you to actually accept the fact that Bigfoot does exist?"
Have to hit him with your car.
Exactly, and really be able to see it.
Mhm.
And if somebody's going to do that in the world and they take pictures of it, it's still going to be a fake, stuffed dummy or CGI or something. So the only way, honestly, Denise, that you'll ever find your truth is going out and discovering it for yourself. If you really wanted to know, you got to get out there. And that's what I encourage people. I say, you could listen to me and I sound all like I know what I'm talking about. I have a documentary. This guy knows what he's talking about. Still, you know what? This is all kind of secondhand. I like to share it because it's my passion, but I do like to encourage people to get out there if they're interested and discover it for themselves. But so getting back to the ghost and everything in the later 2000s, we're just like a 13-minute drive from Bray Road, Wisconsin, the Beast of Bray Road with the Dogman. And people said, because I was investigating ghosts, have you ever tried to look for that werewolf up there? And I'm like, there you go, werewolf, you got Bigfoot. And I'm like, no, but it's one of those things you can legend trip. You can actually drive down Bray Road. You can't really get out and investigate because it's all privately owned farmland from third, fourth generation farmers. So they all know each other up there. So you can't just get off and, look for prints or whatever. They definitely call the cops on you. So, but it is a public road. So you can definitely drive it. And I call it patrolling. And uh, we've been up there many times. And there was one time where I saw something auburn just in the tree line during the day, and it just stood out. It was in April, so in early April, so there was no greenery,
Mhm.
and the field was kind of harvested and everything, so it's just dirt mounds and everything, and then the tree line. And again, Bray Road is just like any other road in Wisconsin. It's not like you're in pines and the thick of the dense woods. So it's kind of like, really, there's nothing around here. And along that tree line, I saw something auburn just sticking out. It didn't look like humanoid figure, but it didn't look like a deer or a horse
Yeah.
or like a quadruped or anything like that. But it looked boxy. That's the I almost wanted to say refrigerator. It's weird. And I was about 150 yards away, but I did see it, and I started driving up to it really slowly. And the closer I was getting to it, the more it just became the woods. It was like I never saw anything move. It was just it just became one with the woods. By the time I got there, there was no auburn, and I was driving slow and keeping my eye on it. So that prompted me to kind of patrol Bray Road for a while, and this was 2012 ish, 2000 getting into 2013. Then we'd start to legend trip with some of my teammates, and we'd go beyond Bray Road and beyond the surrounding areas, and we ended up in the Kettle Moraine one October night. And four of us got out there. You're a lot braver going out into the woods in the dark with a bunch of people. and we had
Yeah.
4 of us, and we get out there and we're just kind of hiking along the trail, and all of a sudden we heard, at least this is my perception of it, what sounded like a simian, like type of primate, and
Hmm.
and almost crossed with human. Well, I'm thinking, okay, and I did catch a little recording off my cheap digital tape player that was, or recorder that I was using for IR that night, and I did capture a little bit of it. We heard it, kind of got rattled a little bit, left for the car, and we all went back and we tried to find, go online and listen to the soundboard of indigenous animals here in Wisconsin, nocturnal, during the day, birds, everything you can think of it. We could not find that source until
Yeah.
this day. We couldn't find it. That's what kind of catapulted me a little bit into, maybe there is something to this Bigfoot thing. I'm not sure, I mean, I haven't really studied it or researched it a lot like a lot of people did, but it was enough to intrigue me to come back and revisit the kettle from that point on.
Wow. We got quite a few people listening right now. While you were talking, I had to send a message to your friend, Robert Hanna, tell him to get his butt over here.
Yeah, Rob, get over here.
Yeah, so he's not here yet, but at least I told him.
He should be. He's in my documentary, so.
Well, I figured he was because he kept sending me videos.
Okay.
So
that's
I've
awesome.
been friends with him for quite a while. He's a good guy.
Yes, he is.
So here's.
Hey, Jimmy Trick. Hey, brother. He's in my documentary as well.
Good. I'm glad to have some people here. So everybody, questions are welcome if you want to say anything. Or
whatever. Definitely.
I will make sure we share them. And there was somebody in here that Terry Mosby. I had a chance to actually see her next weekend, and I can't. So sorry, but we were invited to an event that she's at, and because of my subsequent health problems, I can't go. Can't go out there and in the heat and everything else. So it is what it is. We're getting old. No matter how young we are, we're still getting old.
That's right. We're taking everyone with us. Remember that.
That's right. I'm taking everybody.
Everybody.
So you were talking about some evidence that you had found during this new documentary. Mm-hmm. What was the most intriguing piece of evidence that you found during this documentary?
Honestly, it was a combination of, I always call it the Bigfoot encounter behavior trifecta. It's from listening to what sounded like a person making an owl call right next to us after we caught some eye shine 12 feet up in the tree and just one and it never moved, which was really weird. And after we heard this, we heard the fake owl call, I turned around and took some thermal and I caught something that looks like it's peeking behind a tree. Now, you could be anything, right? You're in an uncontrolled environment. You're in the woods. You've got your raccoon and possum that love to climb those trees and play tag or whatever. But, from what we determined later on, and you would see in the documentary, that whatever was peeking behind the tree was much larger than a human head.
Yeah.
So it was just really bizarre. But you would think that's the most bizarrest part. But as soon as it looked like it ducked behind the tree for the final time, an orb of light shot from that area, went right in front of us, got out of sight, and then we heard a loud crash through the trees. So in Jay's mind, his open mind, he's going to go, wait, did I just record something solid on the thermal? Did it become energy and then become solid again? That's kind of what really made me put this next documentary out there, because I'm still baffled on it. People could say, yes, Bigfoot exists. I know, Denise, you're on the, you're right on the fence there. You need to be convinced,
Yeah.
but you got those that absolutely believe Bigfoot exists. And if that's the case, now really the age old question is going to be, well, what is a Bigfoot? I mean, there's so many different camps within the Bigfoot, within the crazy. you know, you've got what people call the apers, who just believe that Bigfoot is flesh and blood. That's it. It's a flesh and blood primate that we haven't caught a science, or we as people haven't caught up with yet.
Yeah.
Then you've got the people that believe that Bigfoot is can cloak, kind of like the predator, could walk through portals, turn into energy.
Yeah.
They call that camp the woo. So you got the Bigfoot is the woo, like woo.
Mhm.
So you got the apers, the woo, and some people believe that Bigfoot is an alien, extraterrestrial. And then the final one is a biblical Bigfoot, which is the Nephilim. So you got four camps within the craziness of believing Bigfoot exists. And believe me, it can go back and forth, and really nobody knows. So, if I have the platform to say what I think it is, that doesn't mean that's what it is, because everybody's going to have their own truth. You have to kind of get to what you believe somehow, right?
Yeah.
You have to be like, what could this be? Is this a primate? Why, if it's just a flesh and blood primate, how is it that it has trackways of 12 and just they disappear? Where do they go? And that's very common. How is it that you just find one footprint and none other? If this
Right.
was flesh and blood, where do those other feet go? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. That's the mystery of this whole thing. But that's, to answer that question, yeah, that's one of the most bizarrest things that I've caught so far. Was
Yeah.
that behind the tree orb of light, and then a solid crashing through the trees, all in that order.
That's very similar to something that they had seen on Expedition Bigfoot. Here it is, and then light and gone. In
Right,
fact,
right.
Carver talked about something very similar. And, in the chat, we've got spook light talk coming out. Is it possible that they're the same thing? The spook lights and Bigfoot? Maybe that's what spook lights are?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of times what I tell people when they're investigating ghosts in a house. Why is it that a deceased entity, a spirit's just going to hang around the house and not outdoors? A lot of times people would say, does that make Bigfoot a ghost or a spiritual being? And the Native Americans used to definitely believe that. From what their beliefs are, is that Bigfoot was flesh and blood and a spirit. And why did they come to that conclusion? Was it the same thing that they saw it, that they broke bread with it, and all of a sudden it just disappeared in front of their eyes, which gave them the appearance of that? I don't know. If when I do refer to Bigfoot, I refer to them as Bigfoot people, because that's when I go out, that's how I treat them with respect. I'm not out there trying to look for an ape or anything. I maybe in the very beginning I would do some calls and bang on trees. However, I strayed away from that. Doesn't mean that any other investigator, researcher doing that is right or wrong. I just chose not to do that because I don't know what it means. Hitting a tree could mean, hey, it's dinner time. I don't know.
It could also be this. We don't know.
Well, exactly. It'd
Let's
be
be
like,
honest.
or the knocking on the tree could be like, hey, there's people around. So I'm going to bang on the tree saying, I'm a person, I'm here, so get away. Because my main objective is not to capture, the best video or the best picture, the best audio.
Right.
Honestly, it's to make contact. And I know that's crazy, and that scares the straights. It even scares the Bigfoot, people when I tell them, they're saying you're nuts. You're gonna die, one way. And it's like I research one part of Wisconsin. I haven't left it. I have a relationship with the woods. I'm not saying so much with a Bigfoot, but with the woods. So, you just kind of get to know your surroundings. You get to remember the animals that you've ever heard or the birds.
Mhm.
And sometimes you might come across something new after 9 years of being out there. I might hear a different type of bird for the first time or a different owl going, "Oh, could that be a Bigfoot?" But then I do the digging and find out, no, it's this. I just heard it the first time in 9 years. So,
Thank you,
just,
David.
yeah.
He says perhaps the whooping is a mating call.
Well, exactly. And I'll tell you, when I first start,
makes me think of the movie. What was that movie?
Deliverance.
No, the other one. It's comedy.
Oh,
you know. Well,
no, the Bigfoot one.
No, it's actually one where Jim Belushi is dressed as
Trading Places.
Trading Places, yeah. And
yeah, he dresses up only when he puts him in with the real gorilla.
Yeah, yeah. I can
Good
just
movie.
See this.
Good movie. Yeah, exactly.
I love that movie.
That was Beaks.
Yes, he deserved it.
He sure did.
He deserved
you know what?
it.
But I'm just saying, it's like, everybody's got to find, their own truth when they're going out there doing that. I don't know what it is, but I always say I always trust the gut feeling, and I always practice safety first, when I go out there. But again, when I first started doing this, I actually was researching with Linda Godfrey, and we were out, and it was during the day, nothing, beautiful day too. And she found this little sapling. This is in my first documentary. And she grabs it's a little sapling. So I'm like, here's.
Well, she's little. I mean,
she's little. Linda got little
she's
Godfrey. Yeah, she's shaking the tree to make it like an aggressive thing, like a primate. And then she goes, "Why don't you try it?" And I'm like, "Okay." And this is, again, I'm kind of getting new into this. And I grab the tree and I start shaking it. And it's a fresh tree, sapling. And there was really nothing in it. But I was wearing my baseball cap and some sunglasses I put right up there. And I took this tree and I went to town on it. And I sound like a silverback gorilla. I'm just like, and I'm just going crazy on it. And but I'm looking down, just thinking if a little branch fell in my eye or something. So I'm looking down, and all of a sudden I felt something on the side of my head. I couldn't really tell you what, because I'm still shaking. I thought maybe my sunglasses got too tight on me, that feel. And then I'm kind of done, and I look down and I see this pine cone. I'm like, wow, I knocked this pine cone off this. And I'm like, wait, it's a sapling. It's not a pine tree. Mm-hmm. And then I went down to pick up the pine cone, and it weighed nothing. Like it was like a feather, because it was from last year. It was already dry. You know what I mean? It was just already been sitting there forever. So I would have felt that anyway. But then the pain on the left side of my head that was facing the field, Linda was actually to my right on the trail, and this kind of open meadow was to my left. And it really started hurting. And I took my hat off, and I actually had a lump there. And, the only thing that I could speculate is I was hit with something. People would say, well, did you see a rock or anything like that? Well, it was such high ground. Even if it hit me and bounced off, there's no way you would have found it. There's just no way. Plus, I wasn't looking for a rock, but I was being super aggressive. And I remember, oh man, because I remember it hurt. Even Linda was like, she was joking at first, because we were talking about Gilligan's Island shaking the coconut tree. Yep. And then something hitting me on the head. And finally, we kind of like left after that. And I remember I drove Linda back home, and I was been to her house plenty of times, and I knew my way out. I got lost on my way out of her like subdivision area in the Kettle.
Did you lose time too?
That I don't. It's so hard to recall. People do ask me that, but it was like where a switch all of a sudden turned on. I remember it kind of getting there, but a switch all of a sudden turned on, going, "Where am I?" And that was kind of scary, because I'm like, all right, at that time, I think I still had a GPS, like a Garmin, before I was using my phone and everything. And I couldn't get any service out there. So I was literally like, where am I? And so I don't know if I lost any time from that point. But needless to say, getting back to why I don't bang or howl, is I don't show aggression either anymore. After that, I learned my lesson. I'm kind of like, what am I trying to prove by doing this? So that was one for the books.
So on TV, okay, we've got one camp that's gifting stuff to Bigfoot, and the other camp that's chasing him with guns. So is it safe to go in the woods without a gift?
Well, and that's just it. And again, that's everybody's opinion on it. Now, I don't personally carry a firearm with me, but there's a reason for that. Again, that goes with the aggression, and my main goal of making contact is that I'm like, hey, you know what? If a dog can sense your fear, I believe that these people, these beings can just sense your confidence. If they can sense your confidence walking around, they'd be like, wait a minute, why is he so like, the humans aren't like this when they're out in the woods. They're a little apprehensive and they look around, but this guy, he's walking around with confidence because the guy knows he's carrying something that can kill whatever his predator is going to be. So I like to go out there and I'm not dumb about safety. I've got bear spray, I've got my Rambo survival knife and everything else. But I like to go out there and be as non-aggressive as I can and non-threatening. And that's my personal choice. I wouldn't tell anybody else or suggest it that they wouldn't. I just know this part of the woods. If you're going to dump me in Washington State, or somewhere on the Chestnut Ridge in Pennsylvania where there's a lot more wildlife, maybe having a firearm is very important to be walking around with. It's going to be for each person. You just got to know safety first.
Thank you for being a smart ass, David. I don't need a name to know who you are. so that's David Glidden is in the chat room, and he did a couple documentaries on spook lights.
Okay.
And Bigfoot, and a little bit of alien stuff too.
Yeah,
so it is all really good. So you'll have to check that out. How is Linda doing? Is she okay? I know you're not going to talk about her personally, but overall, she's okay.
Yeah, overall, I check in still time to time, and again, basically what she has done is just pretty much just taking a back seat with everything, with the interviews or the constant TV people calling her up and trying. At one point, you kind of sit back and I don't want to say retire. I don't want to use that word, but just kind of just taking it easy right now. So, but good otherwise.
As long as she's good, that's all that matters.
That's right.
She is one of the nicest ladies I've ever met. And
she was my mentor pretty much from the beginning because she was into the Beast of Bray Road and I was just getting into that and Bigfoot. So she's the hub of it all.
Yeah, I met her the same time I met you.
Yeah.
And of course I met Noah. Is that his name? Noah? I think so. I'm not good with names sometimes, even though I've interviewed people a bunch of times.
Right.
I'm not always good with names. So
isn't up there in Iowa?
Yeah, we met him at Van Meter.
Yeah, Van Meter.
Nash?
Yeah, Nash. That was
okay.
It. Nash Hoover.
Yes.
I have a friend named Noah Hoover. So right name, right last name.
Exactly.
So are you doing any events this year?
I am. On my website, if you go to the news and events, I have it posted there. Usually, and I feel bad about it, but people ask me and I say yes, and then I post it and kind of go, but I kind of forget about them until they're about to approach. But, I was just up in Michigan in the beginning of June. And then I will be in Ripton, Wisconsin on the 18th, September 18th.
So, we have a question from David. He's asked this question to other people. Have you ever heard the Sierra Sounds? And if so, what is your opinion?
Well, that is a great question. And yes, I have. And in my documentary that just came out a week ago, I actually have Ron Moorhead in there. He was kind of the cornerstone to my when I was first coming up with this, with my first documentary, I was experiencing the lights. Didn't know what the lights were, but I really couldn't put it into that first documentary. The second one it was, and Ron Moorhead's The Quantum Bigfoot. So yeah, I was following him with his wilderness book, Voices of the Wilderness, and the Sierra Sounds, which I have. And I asked Ron if I could interview him and get him on film, and he said absolutely, he'd be love to share. So you'd love to hear what he has to say in my film. But yes, do I believe they're real? 100%, 100%. You know, you can hear some of what he caught back in the early 70s versus the Ohio Howl and some of these other ones, and the way other people explain what they heard, even though they didn't record it in their encounter. They kind of almost mimic what the Sierra Sounds sounded like.
Right.
And and I caught one just this past last year with Robert Hanna and his girlfriend Jenny. We were out and we heard a howl that was pretty darn close to one of the Sierra Sounds, but it was way far off in the distance. But it was one of the coolest things that I've heard, because it's like, I get to hear it. You know, I never get to hear vocals out here. But then again, the Kettle Moraine is surrounded, and there's people living here, there, all around. So, you know, maybe they don't do the vocals until late at night. I don't know. But yeah, those Sierra Sounds, 100%, I believe they're real.
And David says, disappeared. I've heard the same talking, and I'm going to go back to the location and film a new documentary. So definitely interested in, what you say.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What do you? Yes.
The thing is, I was very glad to hear that you debunk your sounds. Because I know that sometimes on TV when we hear the sounds, first off, they play music before it.
Dun dun dun.
It doesn't matter what they play.
Right. And you never hear it. You always just see the reaction of the person.
Can you just keep it quiet?
Yeah.
So I can hear what you're saying. And then you add in that they tell you what they're hearing, and they don't just replay it with nothing so that you can just hear it. And they never debunk their sounds, even though it sounds like an owl. It sounds like a possum chittering or a raccoon chittering. And, and they act like possums can't possibly be out at night. And I'm like, that's the only time that they're out, because during the day they're bumping into trees. We've seen it. Raccoons love to be out, and they've got hands. They want to mess with stuff and throw crap. So I'm just glad to hear that you're debunking your sounds before you go, it's Bigfoot. It's got to be Bigfoot.
Well, you can't. And a lot of times people will say that, you do hear an owl or a strange call. Well, that's a Bigfoot mimicking. Well, it always comes down to, I've never seen a Bigfoot mimic. Mm-hmm. I've had a couple encounters where what I believe was Bigfoot, but wasn't Harry and the Hendersons in your face Bigfoot. So I would say, you got the possibility and the plausibility. It is definitely plausible that something that lives in the woods that is not, I believe, an animal. I think it's a wild person, but would have the intelligence, and it would know how to mimic and call and try to get around nature if it's trying to hunt to make it sound like whatever. But yeah, no, I definitely agree. When I was saying that the trifecta that we caught with that fake owl sound, it was so weird because it literally sounded, right now, Denise, if I asked you to do a hoo-hoo, try to make an owl sound, it would sound like a person making an owl sound. That's how off it was.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I could go by. But yeah, I mean, we really don't know, but yeah, I definitely like to do it. And then and Steve Coles out of New York, he's in my film, and I like to send him some of my stuff where it's like, you know what, Steve, he's the Squatch detective. He's really good. He believes it. He's an aper, but he also can look at. He's a good audio engineer, and so when I caught that with me and Rob and Jenny out in the woods, I barely caught it off my H1 Zoom. I could still hear it, and I'm like, oh, I got to be able to pull this out. I go into Audacity. I can only do so much to it, and I'm like, Steve, what can you do? And he actually extracted the sound. So it was far away, but it was definitely organic in nature, you know. So then you have to go with, well, you know, you don't know what made that sound, but it definitely did not sound feline. Didn't sound like a coyote. It didn't sound like a wolf. It sounded like a person yelling with really big lungs from far away. So it's crazy. So I was able to capture that, and that's always good. You know, doesn't prove anything. I still come home and show my wife, and she just rolls her eyes and says, "I support you, dear. Good for you. As long as you're coming back in one piece, I'm happy." So,
Yep. I want to say happy birthday, April. I did not know it was your birthday. So
happy birthday, April.
Love you, cousin.
Happy birthday, April.
And she lives in Little Chicago, Wisconsin.
Oh, nice.
So a little bit down the road from you. But
yeah.
So is there Bigfoot in her area?
They're
Should
everywhere.
She be concerned?
They're everywhere. Denise, there's one right behind you. There's one right behind you. They're everywhere.
Well, like I said, if they're in my neighborhood, that tells you something.
Well, the thing is, basically the only thing I could say about that is you've got people that believe that it's just going to be in the largely populated wooded areas of the Pacific Northwest. Then you got Pennsylvania, Ohio. You know, then you start looking at things like Illinois or Wisconsin. You're like, come on, there's nothing there. Where's the mountains? Where's the terrain? Where's the woods? But I'm telling you, definitely, you know, I can start naming some places that people have said they have seen something. It's not really reported. Just because it's reported on the BFRO doesn't mean that's 100% legit, right? Because that could be misidentification, a story fed there, or it may be 100% true. You don't know. Then you talk to the people that really don't want the notoriety, and they're not really into Bigfoot or Dogman or anything, and they say it didn't seem right. It didn't seem like a human, and I don't believe in any of that crap, you know.
Right. Well, Don, he says there's a lot of Bigfoot activity up here in Northeast Iowa at the Effigy Mounds Native American Burial Ground.
Sure.
You know, I think of Iowa, I think of corn and cows. I don't think of Bigfoot.
Right. Here in Wisconsin, I just think of cheese and the Packers.
That's what my husband thinks of, is cheese and the Packers.
That's it. Although I'm a diehard Bears fan. Doesn't matter. I'll never live in Illinois, but
so is David. Ron's a.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Ron says he's sorry. he's a Green Bay Packer fan.
Well, hey, just to let you know, my wife is a diehard Packer fan. So pretty much we're not married for football season till afterwards, and we make amends. Then we're better.
Well, say Jay, you just got David's approval because he's a big Bears fan, but he is from Illinois. So,
yeah, and again, you know what? And that's just the funny thing. I love the state of Wisconsin. I grew up in Illinois, so that's why I'm a Bears fan. But I could never go for the Packers just because of that rivalry. But I would never, ever, ever set foot in Illinois again. Sorry.
Well, it's like me. I used to be a Baltimore Ravens fan, but I still can't stand anything Pittsburgh.
There you go.
And I'm not a Baltimore Ravens fan anymore. But I grew up in Baltimore, but I still have to hate Pittsburgh.
That's right. You have to.
I mean, I don't have anything against Philadelphia. They make the greatest Philly cheesesteaks ever. But Pittsburgh, and I like Mike, their head coach. I like him. Think he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I can't stand Ben.
He's gone though.
I know.
He's retired.
But it doesn't even matter. Yeah, I like Mike Tomlin. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And they've got to have something right. You know.
Absolutely. But no, I agree with what you're saying. But it's, you know, Wisconsin is a very unique state with a lot of different paranormal activity. And I mean, we're talking from from ghosts to hauntings. And that is because of, there's so much history here. Just the area that I'm investigating was actually the Ho Chunk territory, back in the day. So, you wonder how much of it. I think I saw somebody saying something about skinwalkers. And I think that goes all the way down to Lee Hample's farm, which is right adjacent to Bray Road. It's not on Bray Road, but that place has everything from Dogman, Bigfoot, weird.
Could you just have a lot of people
lights.
using drugs there?
No, because and that's just it. It's when you tell the story and you're really on the fence, that's how crazy as it sounds. That's how come it's kind of like, hey, when I go out there, it's not a matter of me telling people this is what you could see, what you can't see. It's kind of like Lee when he handed me his infrared binocular. He goes, just look for it. I'm like, what am I looking for? And he goes, don't worry, you'll see it. And these lights out there are just phenomenal because they're not there in the naked eye. They only show up in the IR spectrum. And when was it? Last October, production team came out from Colorado and they were doing a documentary, and I was a part of that documentary. And there was one section of his field line that I don't remember a half hour of what I did that night at all. And he was showing me some of the footage when I was down there, and it was like watching somebody else do this, but it was me talking. Mm-hmm. And I have a really, really good memory. So I don't really know what to make of that.
So, Susan, I still have my Redskins shirt. So I will still be wearing that. And Amy, I'm sorry you're a Cowboy fan. I really am. So, but yeah, we're not going to talk any more sports. But we do have a question.
Yes.
And I think that, so in your experience, what is the best approach to take when trying to either communicate or make contact with, he says said being, so I'm thinking Bigfoot.
Yeah. I guess the best approach, because I'm always asked, well, what do you do when you go out there? What is your technique? I said, I'm going to tell you, it's a secret, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's called the human technique. I go, what's that? The human technique is go out there and be human. And it's very easy to do. But I think it's also your approach. It's your intentions of going out there. And that's what I do. When I go out there, I'm not expecting David Letterman's stupid Petrix to be, something's going to be there. You know what? I just enjoy the camaraderie of my friends, the adventure, being out there in nature, just being like that. But when I go out there, I'm not like a ghost hunter where I'm like, shh, did you hear that? All right, let's go. You got to kind of train yourself to be human, right? That's easy to do. Be able to talk, not over talk, but always observe the woods, because I think that's what would attract said beings to coming closer out of curiosity. That's my feel. May not be anybody else's, but that's how I go across it. It's like, we don't have to be quiet and sneaky or anything like that. I said, we're not out here hunting wabbit. We're out here to possibly have an encounter. Then if there's like three of us, we'll do what I call the leapfrog technique. I always have walkies. Safety's always crucial out there, but I'll send one person 100 yards up by himself with a walkie. The next person goes 50 yards with a walkie along these trails. You're in the dark, and the last person hangs back. And we usually hang like that for about 5 to 10 minutes just to see what could happen as far as contact. And once that's done, then the last person would go up past the middle, go to the front, and they would kind of do the whole leapfrog technique and do it that way. A lot of it's successful. And in my documentary, you're going to see 2 cases where the last people that seem to be there without recording devices seem to have the most activity. So,
Well,
maybe they're just picking on the ones. Yeah, maybe they're just picking on the ones that can't record and prove it. I don't know.
Well, when we do paranormal investigating, sometimes when we're not getting any activity at all, we sit there and just have a conversation, and then the spirits want to get involved. Maybe it's the same thing there. When you're not giving it your 100% attention, here it comes and says, hey, you're not paying attention to me. Where's my beef jerky? Come on, pay attention to me now.
Exactly. Or again, what are we to the unknown? We're, maybe I always think of Poltergeist with the little girl who's all lit up, when they're all trying to get her because she's all lit up. And I think maybe we're kind of that beacon of light. I don't know. Or, maybe we're just entertainment, we're Seinfeld, we're funny, and it's kind of unique for them to see. I mean, who knows? But that's how I approach it. So I'll go out with like different lights sometimes, and just like my daughter, she has one of those toys that when you hit, it kind of flashes all different colors.
Oh yeah.
And I'll sit there and I'll wave that around, and I've got a little green laser and just kind of go on the ground a little bit. I try not to go in the woods because just in case I cross someone's retina. But, there's so many different things I like to try. And none of them have been 100% successful. Because if that was the case, I guess I'd be sitting down with Daryl drinking coffee, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not. So this is, I think, just going to be a lifelong, journey that I'm on.
So if I was to say, well, we already know what I say.
Oh, we know what you say.
Yeah, I want to believe.
Yes.
Where would I go that I would most likely say, oh my God, I'd have that aha moment?
Well, if I knew that, again, I would be a millionaire.
Okay, let's go with most likely to have an aha moment, or have at least the chance to have an aha moment.
I believe what you would need to do is get out in the woods, be safe, safety first, go out with maybe one or two people, maybe be isolated, maybe not as much as 50 yards, kind of hang out there, try to be open to it. And there's a difference with me because it's weird because I'm not really open to spirits and things like that because I'm always afraid demons will come rushing in. But I think that with Bigfoot, thinking that they are people is that I'm trying to just kind of calm myself and just trying to invite in saying, hey, look, and believe me, when I'm last in line at the leapfrog or wherever, and I have plenty of recording of me on my audio devices. I'm sitting there just talking to the woods, and I'll be as calm as I can. And hey, if you're here right now, feel free to come up. Maybe if you stand in front of me, I'll curl up like a baby on the trail when I first see you. But this is the contact that I'd like to try to make. And when I go out there, I always, raise my hands. I go a little bit higher like this. And that started with, I used to carry a lot of equipment, like this apparatus. So it was like my own production team, with bright lights, walking around the woods. I'm like, oh, Bigfoot's not gonna want to sit and see me coming like that because if you're out there on the trail in the dark and you see a flashlight coming at you, just you're out there and it's probably a person with a flashlight coming. What do you do?
Turn around and go the other way.
Exactly. And why? Because you don't know their intentions. What's behind that flashlight? So I've learned to turn off all my equipment, hook things up where I need it, get hands free. Then I'd be like, hey, you know what? It started 2015. I started raising my hand and doing the wave, like, look, nothing in my hands, kind of like a magician.
I thought it was hands up, don't shoot. No.
Honestly, but honestly, it was kind of like that. And it wasn't like hands up. It's more like a submission. I have nothing in my hands, like no guns, no equipment, nothing. And then I'd give them a wave. That was a joke. Because I always say I'm going to wave to the possum and the raccoon. And while that started out as a joke, I've been doing it since 2015 and haven't stopped. In fact, the people I go out and hike with be like, Jay, you didn't do your thing to the woods. Make sure you do it. I always announce myself when I come in. But to answer your question, where to go? that's always a hard one because it's always like, we have the kettle moraine here. That's nothing compared to what they have in Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Kentucky. But Ohio, definitely, you could hit there. Pennsylvania, get up to, anywhere
I
where
lived in
there's.
Kentucky for 30 years and saw nothing, not even a elk.
There you go.
And I've seen a couple mountain goats standing on the side of Foggy Mountain.
Right.
And that's the same Foggy Mountain as, let's see, Earl Scruggs.
Yeah.
And Lester Flats sing about.
Yep.
That Foggy Mountain was right by my mom's.
Okay.
Never saw a thing. Just a few mountain goats. And,
no,
so
but then it's always depending on how much you're out there. You got to think about on how many times I've been out there, right? Over the almost 9 years. I mean, I go weekly. Sometimes I go 2 times weekly. You start adding up the hours. You would expect me to have a Bigfoot encounter all the time, but I really haven't. I can count 3 on my hand in 9 years, meaning, and I keep peeling the onion of trying to figure out how you'd be able to do it is actually to be active, to be going out there and enjoying the woods, at least going out there, enjoying nature, keep going to the same spots, get familiar, be open. And I bet you things would happen. But if you're just out there once every month or 2 or whatever, and for a short time, that's why nobody sees it. That's what I believe.
What Carter said, got to get out there and experience it.
And the other thing is that you would look at going out would seem like, wow, you got so much to do, but you got to spend so much time out there. But I have this, I want to do this. I don't want to spend all my time there. There's a difference. I say what I'm called beckoned out into the woods. I feel drawn to being out there. If I'm not out there, I feel a pull that I need to be out there. I don't know if I can correlate the two. You could say, well, Jay, you just enjoy going out there that much. Well, I do, but I also enjoy staying home with the kids and the missus, and petting the dog. I love doing all that, but I don't feel beckoned to pet the dog. So, it's like to be out there is, I don't know. I feel like I've been tagged because I was never really an outback jack or outdoorsman. I mean, I deer hunted in the 2000s, but I was really, never really, I want to get out there all the time. And now I do. So.
Are you into like survivalist type activities at all?
No, I mean, I want to, but at the same time, it's kind of, I don't think I'm forced to yet, only because I have such as, I'm so familiar with this relationship with the woods where I go. And, and I always practice safety first. Like I said, is where I go, I'll always text my wife what area, what time I arrived, and when I depart. Mm-hmm. That way, if anything was to happen, just like David Pilates missing 411, those things can happen, and it may not be supernatural, it may not be Bigfoot or Dogman, or you could just falling down a kettle, knocked your head, and you're out. That's how come I always hike with somebody, because my wife said if I ever died out in the woods, she'd kill me. So I got to stay alive.
Well, she wouldn't have to bury you.
Yeah, exactly. But it's that's just the way I perceive into doing that. If I started hiking more out west, definitely I would probably be more apt to being the survival type guy.
Yeah, you'd have to be in some. Are you more apt to witness a Bigfoot in summer, winter, spring?
Yes. I'm going to say all, because I've had different experiences in each of the seasons.
Okay.
A lot of other researchers, which they could be 100% right wherever they're doing it. I never knock another researcher. I don't care how they're doing it. I don't care if they're putting a boombox over their head like in Say Anything from the 80s movies, and that's how they're doing it, right?
John Cusack may have had it right.
Oh, I'm just saying, you know what? It's and when I hear other researchers talk about how they could migrate and that they're animals, and That's all yeah, it's all possible. I don't have those answers, but I can only tell you that I've had different experiences in each of the seasons. So is it a matter of, being able to see one? Seeing one is probably the hardest because I think they kind of, I'm going to use a Star Wars reference here. The very first Star Wars with Obi-Wan Kenobi, these aren't the droids you're looking for. I believe that they do use, and I mean the Bigfoot people, I believe they do use a lot of their mental telepathy ability to where they're standing right there, we're walking right by them, and it's like, this is not the squatch you're looking for, and we don't see them. That's the invisibility and cloaking a lot of people talk about, but I believe they're just kind of camouflaged, the way they look, and they're just standing right there. And so who knows? I mean, that could happen in any of the seasons, definitely.
Well, we have another question here from Mike. He says, do you ever take others with you when they request?
It's, I do take certain people out. I've made really good friends with them that way. Not, I don't want to say not with everybody, because the areas that I research, it's not my land. I always say it's God's land. It's not mine. However, I like to kind of keep that kind of private, because as soon as everybody else wants to do that, which is good, because like I said, I encourage everyone to get out and hunt the truth. But if we're all doing this at the same time, now we're just going to start getting false positives left and right, not only for me but for you. And so to bring somebody out, if I get to know them and I feel they're trustworthy, if that makes any sense, yeah, absolutely. I've taken people out.
Have you ever witnessed a Bigfoot family or anything along the lines of family?
No, I mean, everything that I've seen has always been, I can speculate that a junior ran away from me and my son. One time we were out there, we're on our way. Every time on our way back, it seems like when it happens, I call it the escort. You're walking out, and all of a sudden that's when all the weird stuff happens. You're out there for hours and nothing happens. And it's things that you can't explain. To give you an idea, hearing something, behind us that didn't sound right. And I just mean with a brush or a crack or something, it just didn't seem right. Could have been a Bigfoot, right? Mm-hmm. And as we're walking, me and my son, and right to our left, we hear something kind of move a little bit, right, like 5 feet away from us. We kind of look there, and as soon as we do, it moves from point A to point B within a millisecond, but it made the leaf sound, like when something's trampling through the leaves. Mm-hmm. But think of it going about 50 yards just within a second. That's what it sounded like. It was like there, and then you heard it way down there. And I'm like, what in the hell makes, that, what could make that quick? There's Dee and Jimmy Trick. They're both in my documentary. They're my good friends down in Pennsylvania. And Jimmy, well, they both have co-written a book, and Jimmy's written 2 books. Got to check it out. They're on Amazon Prime. I'm going to do a plug for you for the Tricks. So look it up.
Maybe Jimmy and Diane should contact me, and we could talk more Bigfoot stuff, because like I said, I'm all for learning about Bigfoot.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, I'm not, like I said, I've never said he doesn't exist. I've never had an experience that makes me go, yep, I believe. Yeah. Help me believe. Help me understand.
Well, those Jimmy and Dee are the ones you definitely want to talk to, because they kind of approached it the same way a couple years ago. And now I'm not going to speak for them or anything like that, but I remember on how they kind of were. And again, and I know Jimmy's still right on that line, which is good. You have to be, but they'd be definitely good people to talk to.
I would love to. I kind of would just wonder how many husband and wives are involved in Bigfoot hunting. Is it just one? I mean, it's like in the paranormal, there's not a lot of husband and wife teams that are out there.
Well, I know where my wife's at.
She's at home.
She's at home. She's
So,
doesn't
or
want
she's
nothing to
shopping.
do with it.
Yeah. So
She's
we're
not
gonna
out. Yeah.
we're gonna take a short break.
Okay.
We're gonna promote paranormal conferences coming up and a couple shows on the network. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rex.
And I'm Shane.
We have a new show on the Bill of Rights Network. It is called Music, Movies, and Maybe More.
We explore bands that we've heard of that a lot of people haven't, that we feel like you should know about.
And we do the same with movies. There's a lot of movies out there that we know about that other people should know about as well.
And as for the maybe more part, you never know what else we can come up with.
So, on the Bill of Rights Network, every Saturday night, live at 7 p.m. Central Time, Music, Movies, and Maybe More will be on. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you there. Now we'll return you back to Paranormal Pride and Denise Pridemore.
So that was fast.
Yeah.
So when Dee Dee says there's weird stuff in the kettle,
Yes.
what does that mean?
I wish we could just get Dion to talk about it, because I could tell you what I think it is, and it's something we captured out in the woods. Now, she's been following me. They both have been following my progress, from Pennsylvania up to here. We're really good friends. And, so she kind of sees secondhand of what I'm posting or what I talk about or what was in my first documentary. But just them coming out, hearing what we heard, and it was the craziest thing, because I was just kind of showing them the kettle. We kind of just parked off, walked into one of my areas. We weren't geared up or anything. I just wanted to, still a beautiful day. And next thing you know, we hear deep down in a kettle what sounded like a hollow, I don't want to say drum per se, not really a bongo, but it was something hollow. And the sound it was making, and I like the way Jimmy phrased it right then and there. He goes, it almost sounds like Morse code. It wasn't like a beat, like you think of, Ricky Ricardo, you know what I mean? Like a certain beat on a bongo. It was just like a doot, 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 doot. But I mean, it was, and a hollow, being down there. Again, I always say, who would go down there? But you know what? We're out there, and maybe you have survivalists who are down there, right? So really, it could have been anything. But at the same time, I always look at the way it sounds. And I've actually captured that same bongo beat from 2021 to 2014 on a different type of stick structure of sticks hitting together that almost have the same Morse code sound in the same area. That's the other thing. So, you're always talking about families. I'm always like, is there a family of Bigfoot or whatever down there? Or is this a playground? Is that Walmart? Is that a gas station? I mean, who knows? But it always seems to be in that general area.
Well, I sent Diane a link if she wants to join in. And
okay, good.
Her and Jimmy can come on in if they want. And
I'm texting with her now. I'll tell her to get on.
Yeah, I sent it to her in her Facebook Messenger because, well, that'd be the only way I could find her.
Yeah.
That's if I actually found her or found somebody else. I sent it to the wrong person.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
But you're
I
looking.
will. That's okay.
Oh,
You know what? I will resend it. So if some weird person comes on, we won't let her in.
Am I on TV?
Oh yeah, am I on TV?
yeah, right. So I'm texting right now.
Here we go.
Yep. So she goes, yeah, but you were sending it to Diane. You got Diane Trick.
Yeah, the person I sent it to was I spelled it wrong.
Oh boy.
So needless to say, we're not, this person and I aren't friends. So if I remove it, she'll not know. So I'll just unsend it.
Yeah.
So it happens. So Diane,
Absolutely.
join if you guys can. If not, then we'll catch up with you some other time.
Yeah. But I mean, and again, that's going to be in my documentary of our encounter of what happened. But it's intriguing because you never know what the heck you're going to experience out there. And I'd love to say it's 100% natural all the time. But at the same time, I'm like, something doesn't feel right. And I don't mean it scary doesn't something feel right, but just something doesn't seem natural about it.
Hmm.
And then that's where I kind of dig deeper on it. And honestly, on half the stuff that I ever find or present, if it could be 100% proven, and I mean, not just an opinion of no, it can't be that. Okay, why can't it be that? And if I get 100% logical explanation that I can dig in, then I've done my due diligence saying, my bad. I'm hunting the truth. And that if that's what the truth is, I want to accept that.
Have you? Okay, so we've mostly talked about Bigfoot. Have you searched for other cryptids?
That's kind of hard because there's not like different, spots like in a zoo where you can go to and say there's a Bigfoot area, there's a Dogman area. I have come across some very large canine prints in the kettle as well. So again, do ghosts just reside in buildings and houses or structures? Does Dogman only live on Bray Road or the surrounding roads? Does Bigfoot only live in the kettle? Then you've had the Mothman sightings, the Lake Michigan Mothman sightings.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of UFO activity over Lake Michigan, which is right here along the city of Chicago, definitely up here in Wisconsin. So we get the whole wide range. And then we've got the spook lights or wherever these lights are out there.
Right.
What are those? Are they natural? Are they ghosts? Are they UFOs? Is it Bigfoot being able to just evolve into being able to poop, into energy and just move from one place to another unseen? I don't know. But yeah, so whatever is there, I guess that's what I'm gonna look at. So I definitely, when I'm going down Bray Road, I'm definitely Dogman's on my mind.
Yeah.
And when I'm over at Lee Hampel's barn, everything's on my mind there because that place is just weird, but it's a good weird. And then, of course, when I'm in the kettle, I think I'm more focused on a Bigfoot type creature or person.
It's just interesting how people will tell me, hey, this is what we find in this area, and they don't seem to be open to there being other things in that area.
But
or it's everything.
or it's everything. But I guess that's the way people have to perceive it for themselves, because I'm always like, I don't put Bigfoot in its own separate little box over here, Dogman in its separate box, then Ghost over here. And, then you have all these separate fields. They're all in separate boxes everywhere. With my open mind, they could be all of one of the same, right? Or some of them could be the same. I mean, we don't know enough about that. I think if we close our minds off on that, how do we ever really advance or evolve into a better understanding of what we're doing?
Do you believe that Bigfoot can communicate? Well, that cryptids, in period, cryptids can communicate telepathy.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. There's been a couple times where I've been out there to where I heard it wasn't even, the best way to put it was my older nephew. He was out there. He's more into aliens and the Dr. Greer contacting aliens stuff. And he goes, what we got to do is just meditate in the woods. And I'm like, I'm not really into the meditation thing. I'll pray to Jesus, but I don't know if I'm just going to, meditate to an extraterrestrial. And he goes, no, it's just a matter of we'll go back to back. This was at night. And we'll just be quiet for 10 minutes. That's it. And just kind of take it in. And so I thought, okay. And so we do that. And I remember in my head, I'm asking, are you out here? And immediately I hear a yes, but it was in my voice. So I don't want to say something was put there, or was I just answering my own questions? And again, I'm just trying to remain, it's dark and everything. And then I ask, if you're here, how many of you are there out here of you? And I just heard, we are many. And as soon as the we are many happened, we heard us, sounded like 1,000 coyotes like starting to run by us, like not too far down the kettle. And they were loud, and it lasted for over a minute. I was ready for them to run down the trail at us. It was crazy. But that happened right after I said, how many of you are there? And I heard, we are many. And then all the coyotes came by. That was the only kind of weird thing that I remember.
Are you sure that wasn't a demon?
I don't know.
Because, there's a lot of times that's how they say demons speak.
Yeah.
Is to telepathically.
Right.
And when that's just one, they kind of use the royal we, and makes you wonder,
Oh no, and definitely. And that's the other reason why it's hard for me to open up my way that way. But there's been a lot of people that have experienced telepathy or mind speak, if you will. But then again, do you know if that's really a Bigfoot doing the mind speak, or is the demon sitting out there with the Bigfoot and the demon's doing the speaking for it? It gets crazy because you really don't know.
Or is it an alien?
Or is it an alien?
Yeah. Because, they say that the aliens tend to talk to us telepathically as well. But again, we sit here the whole time not knowing really the who, what, where, when, and why of all of this, whether it's a spirit, a Bigfoot, a dogman, alien, or just some creep playing a trick on us.
Exactly. I was gonna say it could be any one of those, right? Demons or Bigfoot or ghost or Uncle Leo who's just trying to call you back to the car. You don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that's what I'm trying to do personally. Just trying to figure that out.
So your documentary's out.
Yes.
Just this week.
That's
and
correct.
Where can people find it again? You've already said once.
Right now I have my first documentary, Finding Jay, on Amazon Prime. My second documentary, Beyond the Kettle, Finding Jay 2, is on Vimeo, along with the original Finding Jay, the first one. And again, like I said, I'm not just stopping here at Vimeo. Right now, that's where its launch date was. I've still got the feelers out for trying to get this on other platforms. So the best thing I could do is either, if you're following me on Facebook, I'll always post there. But I also keep my website up to date just as much as I do my social media. So if you ever go to my website, then you could just go to news and events. You'll see, what's going on, where it's going to be playing, any links to take you to those streaming sites.
And what is your website?
It's just jbachochin.com. Plain and simple.
See, told you guys. I butchered his name a long time ago.
Hey, you know what? I was going to say, call me anything you want. Just don't call me late for dinner. I'm okay with that.
Well, if you are, hopefully that somebody's not calling you dinner.
I know, right? That's why I don't bang on trees or yell or shake trees anymore, or make sounds like a silverback gorilla anymore.
Well, that's one of the things, like when we were watching the shows, Killing Bigfoot. The Alaskan killer Bigfoot. Should I be terrified? That's one of the things that I just don't get, because we've got two different schools. Well, we have multiple different schools on all of it.
Right.
And that is the part that makes you wonder, should I go in the woods, especially right now?
So
Between the mosquitoes and Bigfoot, right now I'm more scared of mosquitoes.
Yeah, but just think, anything on TV, hopefully people realize it is entertainment, because no matter how you slice it, I could have a television crew follow me around out in the kettle and make it seem so scary that you never want to set foot in there. I'm just saying it's advertising, it's money, because if you've ever ghost hunted and you see what they show on TV versus what it's really like, it's boring as crap.
It's fishing.
It's fishing. That's exactly what it is. And honestly, when I go hiking, because I never call it squatching. When I go hiking, that's my way of fishing, because I will hike. After doing a few leapfrogs, we get to a certain spot. We just stand and wait, just like throwing a bobber in with a worm and just waiting. Nothing comes up. At least you have your company of your friends. You're making memories, have fun, leave, mark it down for the next day.
Do you document everything that you do? Do you keep a diary, or is it just a video diary kind of thing?
It's pretty much all a video diary. If we ever experience, now I do have an audio recording constantly. Since the time I get out of my vehicle to the time I get back in, it's recording everything we say. Even if I use the bathroom, it's on there. Everything is documented, and I keep everything in 2 5-terabyte hard drives. I keep everything. I have body cam, and the body cam is constantly rolling all the time, and so that's picking up everything we say and everything I see. And if we happen to have something happen, we will always do like a video testimonial right out in the woods. Okay, what'd you see? What'd you hear? I'm not saying if it's Bigfoot or if it's Dogman or something weird. What'd you experience? Just tell me about it, and I want to get it firsthand right away. Boom, done. I don't go posting everything and making a big deal about it. But at the end of the night, we do what I call, when we get back into the vehicle, whoever I'm with, I do a finalized summary testimonial. So it's kind of cliff notes of what happened, because I'm already taking testimonials throughout the night.
Right.
What happened. And then that way, when I go into that folder that day and I kind of drill down into what I'm looking for, I go right to my testimonials, listen to what we had to say. Then that way I can start diving down into my audio, video, or whatever files. And I just have, like I said, almost 9 years of that right now.
And that's a lot.
It's a lot.
So,
I think after I leave this fine earth, they can make a movie with me, and they'll be able to get it right. Maybe they could just use all the footage. You wouldn't even have to hire an actor.
Well, I find it interesting that you're saving all this data. Do you document the data in any way to where you can go back and find it, like maybe a 3x5 card saying, okay, on this drive, I've got this, and this, and this is some of the most important things I need to remember?
Yeah, well, usually I'll keep a spreadsheet, and I'll kind of list, and it's kind of hard because every encounter might be a little bit different. So I might just have a light category. What I would think would be a Bigfoot category. What would be a misidentification category? You know what I mean? And then I put down the dates, the times, and then I mark those. That way, by the date, because I have everything by date in my backups. Right. And that way, yeah. So it's a lot to go back and look at that.
So do you keep track of what the weather was and all these other pertinent information?
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't do. And that's one thing, actually, Steve Coles, like I said, the Squatch detective out of New York, would say that's what you would need to do on each one of those. Now, lucky for me, you can go back and look at the weather and actually fill years in. It would take you forever, but at least you'd be able to know what the weather was on that date. So I think I've kind of always thought I had that in my back pocket. Why document it when I have the dates and times and locations, and I can look up the weather anytime I need it to try to correspond
But it's not always accurate. The weather thing is not
Well,
always accurate because it can rain on one side of the mountain and not the other side.
no, and that's true. But I mean, it's exactly. I mean, nothing's 100%. But
And how
a
about
lot,
the moon phase? Do you get that?
right? Definitely with the moon phase, it's either it's there. It's either going to be up, if it's going to be up, 3/4, or the crescent moons,
Right. And is the
and
moon even visible?
and is the moon even visible?
Because there's sometimes we have full moons and we don't, and they're during the day, so we don't see them at night.
Right. And also stars play a big part of it, because when you're in the kettle and the kettles kind of come up and down the trails everywhere, you could actually be looking through the tree and seeing a light, not realizing that you're actually looking up and at the horizon, but you don't feel like it because you're kind of really low. So, those are the big important things that you have to understand is, is there going to be stars that night? Is it partly cloudy? Is it total overcast? And those are the things that we will make note of, definitely. And now what you have to do is, in between each one of those, you're looking at the correspond of saying, all right, I had a sighting here. Why did I have a sighting here and not here with the same type of moon phase and everything like that? So there's a lot to play with that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know with ghost hunting, people want to say during the full moon we have more activity, but yet we seem to have more activity when there's no moon.
Mm-hmm.
Or 3 days before and 3 days after the full moon, we might have activity, but not on the full moon. But the people are weird, So, how do we determine what is causing
Right
the weird people? What's causing? I mean, is this lunar event causing anything that is making something different than it would be normally? Same with Bigfoot, Dogman, fishing. We don't know, because we know during the full moon, fishing is great. The fish come up, they want to see, they head towards the light.
Right.
Do they always? Seems like it, but they're fish. They have little pea brains, but something that's smarter.
But still, and it's like deer. Deer like to bed down because they can see their shadows and they get spooked.
I don't usually see the deer on a full moon, and they come right through my yard all the time.
They know because they can see their shadow, and they're already skitterish to begin with. So on a full moon like that, they're gonna stay low. They're not gonna be walking around.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the coyotes though last night here, there was like 10 or 12 of them I could hear just howling away. And this was in town, so it's like I don't know what they're doing in town tonight, but I guess it was
rummaging through the garbage.
So it was, well, I guess tomorrow's trash day, so I guess it's possible.
Very possible.
It's just weird when they get like that. Other animals, do they give off knowledge that something is in the woods that's messing with them? Crickets, do they, we know that crickets sometimes stop when somebody's walking through the woods.
Right.
Do you experience that as well with
I've never heard the woods go 100% I've heard the woods silence, but never like real super loud and then stop. Now, I've heard that with frogs in the springtime, and I thought, ooh, predators around. I mean, all these frogs just, like in the springtime.
I know about toads.
Yeah. So it's like you hear about that and you're like, ooh, Bigfoot's around, because they all just went silent. However, after looking it up and learning about it, it's all the female frogs of all the different species of frogs, all sending out their mating sounds, their different croaks, and at one time they all stop, and the males can actually find their species of female. That's what they're swimming for when it stops.
Oh, I thought they were all getting screwed.
Well, they're going. They're all like just crisscrossing and going, okay, I know you, Loretta. I'm coming for you. I hear you.
Where my mom lived in Eastern Kentucky, her pool got a leak in it, and she didn't have the money to fix it. So it ended up becoming a toad pool.
Oh, really?
And so one of my shows back then, this was back in 2016. I did the show from her kitchen table with the windows open, and all you can hear is croaking frogs
Yeah.
all the time. And the thing is I'm talking to people who live on the Missouri River. You know, they hear it all the time. Everybody still talks about this show when I'm talking to the people from the Missouri State Pen and the frogs croaking their hearts out at my mom's. So I did not know that, but I will say one thing. My mom did not have mosquitoes or flies.
Yeah, there you go.
So there is a good part to that. And my daughter now lives in a place where you walk outside, that's all you hear are frogs all the time. But I learned something about frogs tonight.
That's exactly. That's an awesome thing.
What is one? I know you can't tell me just one thing, but if I was looking for a Bigfoot, how would I know that I'm in an area that might be more prone? I mean, I'm not, because you can't tell me an exact area.
Right.
But if I'm looking for an area, I'm driving down the road, and, you know, to use a term from Finding Bigfoot, I think it's Finding Bigfoot.
It's squatchy.
This is squatchy. I'm in the Ozark Mountains, and it looks like it's really thick forest.
Absolutely.
There's a place that I should say, I see mushrooms and pine cones. Maybe this is a good place to look.
Yeah, it's usually what I do is when I'm out and about. I was actually up north on a family vacation last week, and north of Manitowoc, and they have some really nice dense woods, almost forest preserve state along Lake Michigan there. And if you want to use the term squatchy, so yes, we all stop there during the day, of course. And, of course, there's trails that you can hike and everything like that. But, you wonder, it's, I look at places like that of just saying, is there an abundance of food, for if a Bigfoot was out there? We're talking deer, elk, just those type of things. And of course, the raccoons, possums, just plenty of, meals. Is there fresh water around? And I look at it like that of saying, if you have a big dense woods and you have, food and water, then yeah, that'd be definitely a good spot to, go in there, pick some mushrooms, kind of look around. But, use the human technique, but always have your eyes on the back of your head. I imagine that's one of the places I would look, or at least start looking.
Well, I've heard, people saying, hey, we hunt Bigfoot down here in Louisiana and Georgia and in the woods of Florida. And, when I was down in Florida last week, I didn't see any woods where I thought, hey, I need to go in here and look for this. I was more on the beach. I don't think Bigfoot would be in the humidity down there. I think he'd be miserable. I think he would be heading north. But do I know that? No, I don't. I just, like I said, I'm just really at a loss as to.
And the other thing is just trying to listen to like different. If you ever listen to some Bigfoot encounters, that's the coolest thing. That's what I liked about Finding Bigfoot. No offense to the show, but I love the town hall meetings. I loved listening to people's encounters because you can learn a lot about behavior, location. Mm-hmm. If it didn't happen to you or me, but it happened to this person, there has been, I've actually heard of beachside Bigfoot sightings. And I mean, it's classic of like the Sierra Sounds, all this. So, I don't rule anything out. And again, a lot of times you'd say, well, there's a nice grove of trees there that lead up to a thicker woods, but there's a lot of barns and everything around here. Still perfect cover, for the wide open land in the middle of the night to be able to move around freely. Who's going to be looking at every square inch of acreage of something walking across there? So they could be anywhere.
Yeah. Who's to say that he's not taking a nap in the loft of the barn during the day?
Who knows? Like, a lot of times people say they find nests, like the Olympics, mountain in Washington
Oh,
State.
Mount Olympia.
Yeah, and where they said they actually found nests, huge nests, and it's like,
What are the
they've
odds of a person making those?
well, exactly. But then you keep thinking, could it be Bigfoot? Could it be Thunderbirds? Just big pterodactyl type birds that are still out there. And I've had people in this area that have seen something really, really big. When I mean that, doesn't mean when you're looking up in the sky, it appears to be big. This is something that actually flew down a road that actually its wings covered, the whole both sides of the street.
Yeah.
And
That sounds very similar to what they used to say that they saw in the Alton, Illinois area, the Piazza bird.
yes, but then you ask yourself, well, where does it roost or nest? And something that big, you would see it just like a Bigfoot. If Bigfoot was real, right? Wouldn't everybody be seeing him? Or if they were really 9 or 10 feet tall and moving through trees, wouldn't they just break like a whole path like Jurassic Park, and you'd be able to just track them? So I think there's just something more to them. That's my gut feel.
Yeah. Because right now, if they're running around in Mississippi, they're making marks because that's all flooded down there.
Yeah, it's flooded everywhere.
Well, we just came through there. We were lucky we left the day we did, because the next day the roads were flooding, and now they're calling for the parts of Interstate 55 to be underwater.
Wow.
So we lucked out.
Yeah,
we did. But like I said, when we're driving, I don't know how many times. I mean, one time in Florida, we're driving across I-10, and I just took out my phone, held it on, not a video, but pictures, to see if I caught anything running in the woods.
Yeah.
Because along parts of I-10 between Crestview and Pensacola, there is a lot of trees.
Yeah.
And because part of that land is actually still owned by the Air Force. It's not owned by people. And so that means it's just thick woods.
Exactly.
And they do have bears, and they do have wildcats down there. And so that would make you think that it's quite possible that you're going to have a stinky, sweaty Bigfoot in the humidity.
Or a skunk ape, right?
Yeah. And what's the difference between a skunk ape and Bigfoot?
Yeah, it's just a different thing. You'd say that was a skunk ape because they smell like skunk or putrid. Well, we have that in Wisconsin too, but we just call it Bigfoot up here. We haven't really come up with, maybe we should call it the Willie, Wisconsin Willie. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we have in Maryland, we have Chessie, the sea monster.
Yeah.
That, along the same lines of Nessie. And it's not, there are hundreds of people who have said that they've seen this. You got this Lake Champlain monster.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds of people have said, maybe even thousands of people have said they've seen it. With Chessie, I always just figured it was drunk boat riders that were out hunting for crab. Do I know that? I've never seen it.
I always like that too, when people blame, if you see something that you're drugs or drunk, and it's like, you know what? I've been drunk several times. I've never seen a pink elephant, So it's like, what's going to make me see a bipedal?
You need to go to the right strip club to see that.
Yeah.
But, I just don't know. But I mean, I know a lot of people are on their boats drinking.
Oh, no, of course.
They all
100%. Yes. Yeah.
I've seen it.
That's a fact.
I don't know if there is a, the Ozark Mountain, Lake of the Ozarks. Does it have a sea monster besides some giant catfish that, River Monsters has tried to catch, that's eating the dead bodies that were washed up in all the graveyards that were flooded?
Right.
Who
knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But, the guy from River Monsters came and checked it out and found some pretty damn big catfish down there that could do some damage. But again, I don't know. It's just, but at least with him, he was able to show me something that might possibly be eating the bodies. You know, we all know catfish are bottom feeders. They're going to eat whatever's down there. But I don't know what other crypto monsters should I even be calling them monsters?
Well, the thing is, I mean, you've heard of Lyle Blackburn down in Texas, but he was writing a lot about the Florida lizard man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's weird on how they come up with these names. Dog man sounds like, you know, underdog, you know, a cartoon or something, you know. And I always like a Bigfoot just looks like a goofy, you know, bear with big feet or whatever. And it's like all these names on it. There's probably a lot of sightings that people just don't, who are you going to tell? You know, if you're really into Bigfoot, you think you saw Bigfoot, you would go, I'm going to call the BFRO, make a report. But if you're not into any of that, which a lot of the encounters are people that really are not vested into paranormal or Bigfoot or anything like that, who do they call? What do they tell people? And then when you tell that person, they're going to be like, yeah, you didn't see a Bigfoot. They don't exist. You probably saw a bear or a person.
Yeah.
You know, that makes that person.
What are the odds of somebody seeing a mouse man? You know,
a mouse man. Oh, that's a good one. Ooh, that'll be my next documentary.
You know, I mean, think about it. I mean, they always want to find these big things. You know, there's a flying bat-like man. They didn't say Batman down near Humansville, Missouri. Okay. Yeah. It was on TV. They talked about it with Brandon here, Callahan.
Okay.
You know, they talked about it down there, and I like Brandon a lot. He's got a lot of information on stuff related to the Trail of Tears and stuff down in Tahlequah, because it's got a lot of Bigfoot sighting, unusual sightings, whether it's ghosts, crypto, not Bigfoot, aliens,
right,
shapeshifters, things like, I mean, it's amazing the stuff that they say happened down there. But how much of it is related to the Trail of Tears and the people who died getting there and all this other stuff? You know, we live not too far from the Trail of Tears. And so it just makes you wonder, you know, how much of that stuff is related to Native American. And along with Bigfoot, are we only seeing Bigfoot in areas where humans have been for thousands of years? Or are we only seeing Bigfoot now because there's so many of us that he can't hide?
Yeah. Maybe it's just this time. You know, the whole 2012 maybe wasn't about the end of the world, but just maybe an awakening of, you know, I mean, you think about it, so much has happened since 2012, right? That really has just really opened up a lot. You know, I hate to use the word consciousness and all that, but maybe there is something out there that is like the veil's just getting thinner, and people are starting to see the truth of what's out there. And that's the crazy part of it. And that's the only way I can explain it. I just feel like I've superly, evolved over the past several years, you know, past 5 years, especially. And it's just getting, you know, to where I'm seeing more, I'm experiencing more. What is it? Who can I talk to? You know, so that's why I wanted to put out a documentary, not to get rich and famous, not to be the first one to do this here. It's a passion of mine to hunt the truth, and I love to share that. And I really think, you know, Ron Moorhead puts it in a very great way in my film, you know, is that people are seeing a lot more stuff now. And why are we seeing it?
That is the bigger question. Why? Yeah.
Why?
And has the government really known about this stuff all these years?
Absolutely.
Or are they faking it? You know, to distract us, you know, from what else is going on, what else they don't want us to see. I don't know. And
I'm the same way. I'm
not a big conspiracy theorist. At least I wasn't. I've gotten more involved in that. but it just makes you wonder, if they're going to release this UFO stuff, is there some Bigfoot stuff that they need to release, or is Bigfoot and on all this stuff government experiments, the stuff we brought back from World War I to places like Aberdeen Proving Grounds and
See, while that always sounds good and a very logical explanation, how is it the Native Americans before the white man got here that they were recording Bigfoot back then? So it's either all these are plausible, right?
Right.
I go as far as saying sometimes. Do you ever see the movie The Matrix?
Actually, part of it.
All right. Well,
couldn't watch it.
I'll spoil the last.
That's fine.
Is that Neo finds out that there was 6 generations of himself. And that was the 6th time he was standing there going, wait, what? So think about it. What if we're like the 4th or 5th civilization that we think is, full of technology, but maybe there already was this same stuff previous, and then previous to that.
Or maybe we're just a reality over a reality over a reality, like in the OA.
Oh, exactly.
That show, you guys, if you're out there, you want to watch something, get past the first 2 episodes and you'll be hooked. That one made me think. I mean, it really did.
Yeah, all these movies constantly do. So
Steve asks, what is the most active location you've ever been to, paranormally or otherwise?
In the Kettle, I have like 5 different areas, but they're all within 10 miles of each other. So it's always hard to say which exact area because they're all, as the crow flies, right there. So definitely the Kettle Moraine area has everything that you'd ever want. I don't care if it's Bigfoot, Dogman, ghosts, UFOs. You've got everything in there, and nobody really knows what it is. But that's the adventure part, right? To be able to do that. Now I have hiked in the Chestnut Ridge in Pennsylvania. And that place seems to hold a lot of mystery as well. So, I don't know if I'm taking what I'm feeling here in Wisconsin into Pennsylvania, or I guess wherever I go. And maybe that's just it. I don't know. But Pennsylvania, the Chestnut Ridge is definitely another very high paranormal, high strangeness area that I've ever been to.
Have you ever experienced the Bridgewater Triangle?
I've never been there. Read about it, seen documentaries on it, but I've never
that
actually
seems
been
to be
out
a
there.
Location that's similar to what you're talking about.
Yeah, all the different, exactly everything that's happening. So maybe there's more of these triangles, throughout the world, not just in Wisconsin, or you can start pinpointing them, just kind of like how the Bermuda Triangle started. All the weirdness there, but it was over water. Now you have these triangles of areas that could potentially be here in southeast Wisconsin.
Maybe they're portals.
Maybe they're portals. See, that's all part of the woo. And it's fun because the people that in the field of Bigfoot, we like to have these discussions because they're the apers and I'm part of the woo. Or the biblical Nephilim part. I could believe that too, though.
And so when you say Nephilim, are you meaning like giants?
Yeah.
Okay.
If again, that's explained in my documentary. Nice little plug I had in there. But I'm a Bible-based man. I believe Jesus died for my sins and I accepted him, and everything that I've taken is his word is the truth. And the Bible to me is the truth. It may not be to anybody else. It might be taken out of context. It might be written out of, it's been transcribed, so how many generations, right, to get to what I'm looking at, but it's my truth. And I can't look into the Bible and go, this applies, that's out of context, or this applies to me, this doesn't. It's either all or nothing. And that's the way I take it. So the Bible to me is what it is. It's the truth. It's the word of God. Now, I will look at that saying, well, written that Noah was almost 1,000 years old. Oh, Jay, that was just taken out of context. He was probably only 90. Well, the Bible says he was 1,000 years old. If that was the case, well, let's just think about this a little bit. The Sasquatch people, who's to say that they look just like us, but how they're portrayed, right? That we'd see in cartoons or whatever, that they look like us with long beards. What if they were just hairy people? I don't know. When the Nephilim came down and mated with the females, they would have offspring. So they weren't angels and they weren't people. They were a hybrid. And the Bible talks about this, not in detail the way you'd want to if you were trying to prove, Bigfoot lived back then. But it does make me think, these Bigfoot people, what if? Okay, what if? I don't know how we evolved from them to us. That's a whole other case here. But what if they were able to live that long and they didn't need to populate like we do as people to keep our generations going or lineage going and everything like that, and they'd only need to populate every 500 years, and keep their numbers low.
Who knows how long their pregnancy
in the woods, how long their pregnancy is, how long their life is, and again, people call me a nut job for even saying that. That's a whole different aspect, but why not? What about the Native Americans that wrote or did drawings or something like 300-400 years ago up here in Ho-Chunk territory?
Mm-hmm.
And the one that I saw in 2017 was the same one he saw back in the 1600s. The same exact one, just living in this area. We don't know. And the only way to know is to go out, discover for yourself, find those answers, and learn from that. And that's my personal quest.
So, well, I would, we've got about 15 minutes left of the show.
Okay.
And so if you guys have any other questions you'd like to ask Jay, this is the perfect time to get your answers, because as you can tell, he's not going to hold back. He's going to give you the answer he thinks that he has to give you. So what I'd like to know is, why does my shirt keep changing colors?
You know what? I think it's your monitor. It dims and goes a little brighter.
It's done that forever and ever. It's because my skin is so white.
Oh, okay.
I'm angelic.
There you go. You're part of
either that or I'm something else, and we're not going to go there.
See, my shirt almost glows.
Yeah. So, but yeah, my shirt is blue and it looks teal now.
Yeah, so mine's blue and white, or this is black.
Yours looks fine.
Yeah. So, yours, I just noticed your screen kind of goes in.
It does that all the time.
Okay. All right.
We've done everything we could. I've unplugged it from the docking station. I've used a different computer. I've done everything else. It just does it.
Yeah.
So at least, some people want to make it paranormal, but it's not.
Is there a way that you can pull the trailer up on here? Play it on here?
Yeah, you can go ahead and pull it up. There's a down here where it says share. I'm pointing to it. You can't see it. But down below your picture, there's a thing that says share.
Oh, yeah.
So you can share it right from your screen.
Yeah. How do I get to... I'm not used to doing this part. Let's see.
Just click on share and should be able to do it. Do you have two monitors?
Nope, just one.
Okay, let's see. If you want to send it to me, I can do it too.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'll do it through Messenger, if that's good for you.
Okay, that's fine.
The smell of Bigfoot.
What's it?
Ron asks if you've gotten close enough to smell a Bigfoot.
Many times. And again, I'd love to say, there's the Bigfoot, there's the smell. I smelt it. I've been out there with 4 different people, actually 5, with 2 of the same people that we've smelled. And we could all verify what that smell was. It's not just me saying, hey, Jay, here's your sniffer. You've got a weird sniffer. You don't know what you're talking about. But when you're having it with a bunch of different people, are we all that crazy that we're all smelling the same thing?
Well, mass hysteria, mass sniffs. You just sometimes when a kid has a dirty diaper and you just changed it, people
Well,
still.
mine was this. Okay, and I sent you the link, by the way.
Okay.
Okay, so it should be there. My thing has always been, if have you ever had raw chicken, some parts that you didn't use and whatever you were doing, and you just threw it in the garbage. You just covered up the garbage, and you forgot to take it out right away, and it's been in there for like 2 or 3 days. Then you take that chicken and you throw it, in the dumpster outside. Let it sit there and ferment for another couple days on a hot day, and then just lift up the lid and smell. It's that putrid, swampy. It's enough to make you gag, but the thing is with that is it's a traveling smell with no wind, and it's never in the same spot. So again, logically, I would say I'm in the woods. There's a kill. We can't smell it. And it's decaying. Okay, that would make 100% sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, we're gonna run this. Let's see here. Let's see if I can get the sound up. Here we go.
Wisconsin's Kettle Moraine is considered one of nature's most beautiful landscapes. But beyond this beauty lies many mysteries. My journey continues as I seek more answers.
I think it's highly probable that Bigfoot or Sasquatch, if it exists, can be found in the state of Wisconsin.
And during our hikes, we've been encountering strange balls of light and other light anomalies. Is there a connection between Bigfoot and these lights?
Many people want to simply look at the creature as an undiscovered ape, and that may well be the case. However, there's no denying that there are situations, encounters that have been reported where people experience seeing one of these creatures, but also other strange phenomena at the same time.
Either on the top of the trees or right through the trees, but it seemed like it glowed. What the hell was that? I don't know.
You get into quantum physics, you find that everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. You can find the vibration of something, the frequency of it, you can manipulate it, because it works that way in quantum physics.
I don't give it any kind of supernatural or demonic type of being, because why not? Because they have been very passive and act very much like primates in their home range when they stumble upon, or when we stumble upon them in the forests.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Yes.
see over here. So that was very interesting. So, and I did see Robert in there. So, and I did recognize some of the people from your video.
Yeah.
So, and I do have a question here since we only got about 5 minutes left. Susan asked if you have any footprint casts.
I don't have any that I've made personally. The first one that I found in 2014, I was still new to it. Even though it was in the snow, I didn't think I could cast that. So I just took a lot of pictures and video. The second one I found did not have my casting material on. It was going to come back out. And it was one of those rainy seasons, and it washed away half of it. Again, I documented all that. And then the other one was kind of a surface print. So there was really nothing I could cast. I mean, I'm waiting for that day, but it doesn't make or break me if I don't have a cast or not.
Yeah. So, and then Brandon Cooper, he says his tribe talks about Bigfoot all the time, and they call him the hairy man.
Yeah. I call mine Barney.
Barney?
Yeah. Well, actually, my son named him back when he was going to be 4 years old, 5 years old. And it wasn't Bigfoot or Barney, the purple dinosaur. It was just a B word that when we're going out there. So it's funny. I really I do look at them as people, though. I mean, even if they're wild people, I still look at them that they have humanity in them. If that makes any sense.
So where can everybody find you, Jay?
All right. As you can see my name there, it's just go under jbachochin.com. That's it. Easy. Once you get there, you can look at the tabs at the top and go to news and events. That'll keep you up to date. And you could just kind of scroll around and look at the gallery. I post some pictures up there of just being out in the field. Some are what I would think would be evidence. And that'd be the best place to find me. There's a link there to my Facebook that I'm on. So that's pretty much it. Those are the places that you'll be able to find me.
Are you going to be at any events anytime soon?
Yeah, I'll be in Ripton, Wisconsin on September 18th. So that is also on my webpage, so you can see directions, or if you wanted to come out and join the I think this is a fundraiser as well, kind of for charity. So definitely worth coming out.
Oh yeah, it's got to be. So I hope that you do well at that. I don't know if the Van Meter Festival's happening this year.
I think it is. I'm not going this year because I think I have something else lined up right around that time. It's hard to make them all, and I'd love to be at them all because there's so many good people. So.
Well, you would never have met me if we hadn't went up there that one time.
I know. And
it did rain, and it was windy, and all other stuff. But it was nice because we did get to talk to people.
Exactly.
I know as a vendor, it sucks when there's not a lot of people. But as a participant going, I like it. I like it better that way. But at this point, I can say everybody that was at that event, I know them all personally now.
Exactly. It's good. I know.
I mean, we had Josh Hurd, who's going to be at the Paranormal Conference that we're going to in Joplin. He's going to be playing music again.
Nice.
So
he's my wingman.
We get to heckle him.
Oh yeah.
And stuff. But yeah, we're hopefully I've had to cancel everything I've wanted to do this year. So hopefully I still get to go to the Paranormal Conference.
Absolutely. Oh, so, and by the way, the end of not the end of this week, the beginning of next week, and I will post, this is my prototype, but I will be selling Blu-rays of Beyond the Kettle, Finding, it's kind of blurry, Finding J2. I got to put it back here.
I don't know why it's not, it is what it is.
It's weird, isn't it? It's like, there it is. There it is.
So I'm excited for you because I know that you're glad to be getting away from the computer a little bit.
Yes. So, as a matter of fact, right when we're done here, shutting her down, going that way.
Yeah, not me. I get to work some more. So But I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I want you to enjoy next Monday night home with your family on Labor Day. I will not be live on Labor Day. So we will see you in 2 weeks from tonight, and tune in tomorrow night for me, Ron, Carl on Paranormal Nation Radio, Not So Normal, and check out all the other shows here on the Bill of Rights Network. And we've got something almost every day and something for everyone. So we'll see you soon. We'll see you soon. And thank you for listening to the Paranormal Pride. And thank you, Jay.
Thank you for having me on, guys. Bye. Good night.